demons.
So you never know, though.
I do know.
The mystery surrounding Chris Combs' sudden and unexplained disappearance from TLC's hit reality series 1000 LB Sisters in 2025 has left fans baffled, worried, and frantically speculating online, scouring every second of the latest episodes, in search of hidden clues and dissecting past footage to see if they somehow missed the signs. Because for years, Chris had been the steady, good-natured anchor in a show otherwise dominated by his sister's larger-than-life drama. The cool-headed and witty sibling who counterbalanced Amy and Tammy Slaton's chaos with a measured voice of reason. A burst of humor at just the right moment, and a family-first attitude that made him a fan favorite. He was, in many ways, the glue holding the on-screen family dynamic together. Yet when Season 8 premiered in early 2025, something felt off from the very first episodes. Chris's presence was reduced to blink-and-numisset cameos, sometimes just walking through the background of a scene with no candid interviews or central plot lines built around him. And in certain weeks, he was missing entirely. His absence made all the more glaring by TLC's complete silence on the matter. The cast's refusal to mention him, and the lack of any formal explanation. A void that only fueled speculation and unease, prompting theories that ranged from plausible to outrageous. Was he ill? Had he quit? Had he fallen out with producers? Or, as many were convinced, had something explosive happened behind the scenes that the network was desperate to bury. Fans dug deep, combing through leaked filming reports, whispers from production insiders, and even grainy photos allegedly taken of Chris in the months leading up to his disappearance. And what began to emerge was a tangled web of personal tensions, contract disputes, and health concerns that could each on their own explain his vanishing act, but together painted an even murkier picture. Sharp-eyed viewers first noticed subtle changes late in Season 7's still cracked jokes. But his eyes seemed tired, his smile less easy. And in one now famous barbecue scene, he barely touched his food, opting to sit down midway through the meal while others bustled around, a moment that sparked a Reddit thread with hundreds of comments about his noticeably paler skin, slightly swollen cheeks, and breathlessness when simply walking across the yard, observations that at the time were dismissed by many as harmless speculation, but in hindsight now seem loaded with ominous weight. One production assistant from Season 7, speaking under strict anonymity, told us Chris suffered a frightening medical episode during filming, not a heart attack, but something eerily similar that left him sweating, dizzy, and unable to continue shooting, prompting the crew to shut down for the day and omit the incident entirely from the final cut to avoid alarming viewers, with Chris himself allegedly insisting he didn't want it turned into a dramatic plotline. Yet if true, this could explain a more cautious approach to filming in the months that followed. Although health wasn't the only potential factor at play, money, it seems, was another, according to leaked email exchanges circulating quietly in private Facebook groups. Chris formally requested a substantial pay increase for Season 8, arguing that his growing popularity and ability to carry storylines when his sister's arcs stalled warranted a salary on par with Amy and Tammy's. But TLC executives reportedly countered with a much smaller raise. A move that one crew member identified here as Renee characterized as a deliberate lowball that left Chris feeling disrespected and willing to scale back his participation unless they met his terms. A standoff that may have triggered a subtle but effective punishment tactic the network has allegedly used before, filming a cast member but then strategically cutting their footage until audiences naturally stop asking about them, essentially erasing them in slow motion. And indeed, some fans claim to have seen Chris filming scenes in late 2024 that never made it to air. Overlaying all of this was simmering family tension, as insiders described a grueling year in which Chris, long the peacemaker between his sisters, grew weary of constant Amy versus Tammy conflicts, overshadowing his own lighter, more positive Moments with rumors that he may have privately taken a side in a dispute that made shared filming awkward or outright impossible, leaving him further removed from the show's main narrative. Meanwhile, health rumors continued to swirl with unverified TikTok posts claiming he'd been seen using a cane or wearing a medical boot, possibly following surgery, and a particularly persistent story placing him in a Kentucky hospital in February 2025. Though without confirmation from Kris or TLC, these remain speculative. Yet, the lack of any official communication only made the theories more intense, as one viral Reddit post put it. Kris was fine, he'd say something, this. Silence means something's wrong. Then, in April, fan circles erupted over a blurry, covertly taken photos allegedly showing Kris sitting alone in a small diner, leaning forward in conversation and, according to the caption, telling someone, "I'm done with TLC. They'll never air my truth," a statement that, if genuine, could signal an impending tell-all. Though skeptics question the image's authenticity and whether the person was even Kris at all, for now, TLC has maintained complete radio silence, declining to acknowledge the absence or address the speculation. A move consistent with their past strategy of letting fan attention drift elsewhere rather than fueling it with official statements. But the 1000 LB Sisters fandom is famously relentless, building elaborate timelines of Kris's appearances, comparing unaired filming dates to broadcast episodes, and debating everything from health crises to secret spin-offs. One especially far-fetched but oddly popular theory being that Kris was developing his own culinary and weight loss-themed show and TLC sidelined him to keep him from outgrowing their brand, a claim with no concrete evidence, but one that speaks to how, in reality TV, the combination of mystery and absence almost always breeds conspiracy. What makes his absence even more bittersweet is that it comes after one of the most inspiring personal transformations in the series. As Kris's remarkable weight loss journey over the past few years not only changed his health, but appeared to give him a renewed zest for life and new professional ambitions. With the 44-year-old shedding well over 150 pounds after bariatric surgery and subsequent skin removal procedures. Determined to avoid the fate of his father, who had died of obesity-related complications at the same age, and committed to being present for his family's future. A resolve strengthened by watching his sister's own weight loss struggles play out on screen. His physical transformation was rapid, enabling him to qualify for excess skin removal, which he underwent successfully, emerging with more energy than ever and a clear vision for the next chapter of his life. Transitioning from his longtime work as a McDonald's manager, where he met his wife Brittany, toward his dream of operating a food truck, a goal he publicly embraced after testing the waters by running a friend's truck at a local event alongside his sister Amanda. Clearly enjoying the work and hinting at the possibility of making it a permanent venture. Fans, too, were excited to see this side of him, particularly when he began making public appearances beyond the show, including his first-ever convention in March 2025 at the National Corvette Museum, an event that seemed an odd pairing given its horror theme, but which he and Brittany attended with smiles. Posting clips to Instagram that showed a slimmer, healthier Kris fresh from his most recent surgery, and openly discussing his plans for further procedures to address areas of his body, particularly his chest, that still bothered him. An honesty that endeared him to viewers who appreciated his transparency about the less glamorous realities of massive weight loss. Indeed, from his initial weight of over 450 pounds at the series' 2020 debut, down to 300 pounds post-surgery in 2022. Kris's journey has been both physically grueling and emotionally rewarding, marked by milestones like running a 5,000 and confidently taking his family to a local swimming hole for the first time in decades, and underscored by his tearful admission to Brittany that while he was proud of how far he'd come, he still saw areas of opportunity for improvement, testament to both his progress and his relentless drive. That's why, for so many viewers, His sudden retreat from the spotlight feels like a betrayal not just by TLC, but by the narrative they had invested in, robbing them of a rare male weight loss success story within the franchise and leaving behind only unanswered questions, whispered rumors, and a gnawing sense that the full truth is being kept just out of reach, possibly to be revealed in some future bombshell that will either confirm the worst fears or perhaps show that Chris has simply moved on to pursue his goals away from the manufactured drama of reality TV. But until then, the 1000 LB sisters fan base remains in a state of stubborn vigilance, clinging to diner photos, leaked emails, and the hope that their favorite brother will one day reappear not as a background extra in someone else's storyline, but in his own hard-earned spotlight.
I think she's rushing it.
She's got too much on the plate, you know what I mean?
Chris Combs, well known to viewers of the hit TLC reality series 1000 LB Sisters, has undergone a remarkable transformation in recent years, both physically and emotionally, alongside his wife Brittany Combs. And while much of the public focus has been on his sister Tammy's high-profile health struggles, those who have followed the show closely know that Chris and Brittany's journey has been equally compelling in its own right, filled with determination, sacrifices, and a constant balancing act between personal well-being, family responsibilities, and the demands of appearing on reality television. And it's important to understand that their story is not simply about weight loss numbers or dramatic before and after photos, but about an ongoing process of reclaiming health, finding stability, and navigating the sometimes harsh realities of medical costs, insurance limitations, and the emotional toll of life-changing surgeries, with the added complexity of doing it all in the public eye. Chris, at one point weighing around 450 pounds, reached a stage in his life where he knew something had to change if he wanted to be around for his loved ones. Particularly for Brittany, whose steadfast support has been one of the anchors in his life, and for the rest of his extended family, who have always played a significant role in each other's lives. Yet making that change was not without fear. Because for someone who has lived with obesity for most of their adult life, the idea of major surgery is daunting, not only because of the medical risks, but also because of the permanent lifestyle adjustments that follow. And Chris has been candid about how the choice to undergo a gastric sleeve procedure in 2022 was both one of the hardest and most necessary decisions he has ever made. The surgery, combined with bariatric treatment protocols, set him on a new course that would ultimately lead to a weight loss of over 150 pounds. And this dramatic reduction in weight brought a cascade of changes. Some expected, like improved mobility, reduced joint pain, better cardiovascular health, and more energy, and others less expected, such as a shift in self-image, new ambitions, and fresh challenges related to excess skin, which for many weight loss patients becomes not just a cosmetic concern but a real medical and quality of life issue, contributing to chafing, infections, restricted movement, and daily discomfort. For Chris, the excess skin was more than an annoyance. It was a reminder of the years he spent at a much higher weight and an obstacle to fully embracing his new level of physical activity. So he pursued skin removal surgery, a procedure that is often as grueling in recovery as it is transformative in results. And his first skin removal operation, likely covered at least in part by insurance due to the documented health complications the skin caused, was a significant milestone, yet it did not address all of the remaining skin, leaving him to consider a second round of surgery, which brings its own set of complications, the foremost being cost. Because while insurance companies may cover one medically justified skin removal surgery, they often view additional procedures as elective, categorizing them under cosmetic surgery even when patients and their doctors can clearly demonstrate ongoing physical problems caused by the remaining skin. And for Chris, this means facing a potential out-of-pocket expense that could run into thousands of dollars. A daunting figure for someone whose income, while bolstered by TLC reality show earnings, is not on the level of major celebrity wealth. since reality TV talent pay scales are often much lower than people assume. With most of the money coming in per filming season and dependent on contract renewals, so even though the exposure on One Throw Sound B Sisters has brought Chris and Brittany a loyal fan base, it hasn't eliminated the practical financial pressures of everyday life. Still, Chris has shown resilience and resourcefulness in how he approaches these challenges, openly discussing on camera and in interviews the possibility of finding ways to fund a second skin removal surgery, whether through savings, negotiating with medical providers, or other creative solutions. And he has also weighed the option of simply living with the excess skin if the cost proves too prohibitive, seeking other strategies for managing the discomfort, such as specialized clothing, compression garments, or topical treatments to reduce irritation. Although none of these are as definitive as surgery, and in discussing these choices, Chris and Brittany have demonstrated a level of transparency about their financial and medical reality that resonates with many viewers who face similar dilemmas without the glare of reality TV cameras. Part of what makes Chris's situation complex is the interplay between personal health decisions and the business side of being on a television show.